Hi, my name is Alexandria Myers, and I'm going to be talking about the helong language today. The helong language is a language that is primarily spoken on Timor, which is an island off of Indonesia, and there are three dialects of helong. There's Helong Island, Helong Tuan, and Helong Funai. Those are the three main dialects, but I will be speaking broadly on the whole language. So what is the structure of Helong? Helong has a structure that's pretty much standard. It's like overall standard, even in terms of like the way it's written. Like it's written with Latin script. It doesn't necessarily use all 27 letters of the Latin alphabet, but it's written out in Latin script. And in terms of the structure of the language, it follows a standard C, C, V, C, V, C, V, where the C is the consonant, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a consonant there, so that's the broad word structure. And in terms of the way it's written out, like syntax-wise, it's similar to Spanish in some ways, where the noun is gonna actually be before the adjective, so the describer comes after the noun. So that's one interesting syntax that comes along with Hulong. Also, punctuation is going to be at the end of the sentence, not necessarily throughout the sentence. And one thing I thought was pretty interesting about Helong is that in terms of vocabulary, it's pretty much its own language. It's very original. There are some like phrases, or not phrases, but there's some similarities to Malay, which I'll talk about a little bit later, the language of Malay. But overall, it's pretty original in content, so it's not too much like some of the other languages of Southeast Asia. But that is pretty much it for structure. In terms of word speakers, or I'm sorry, just to backtrack a little bit. Helong has been described as a vulnerable language since 1997, and it's also of the Austronesian family of languages. And also some fun words just to throw out there. Basan is a word that is used when retrieving official guests. So if you have like official people coming to your home, that will be the word to be used. Lo akomlo is another set of words that means no, and tuling means help. So some fun phrases for you guys to learn. Who are the speakers? The speakers of Helong are the Helong people. There are about 14,000 ethnically Helong people known of, but not necessarily all 14,000 speak the language. So there's not a precise number on, okay, there's X amount of people that speak the language, but just in general, there are 14,000 people of Helong ethnicity. And from that, the language has traveled a little bit. So the Helong people started on East Timor, worked their way through the island all the way to West Timor, which is where they currently reside, like a very, very small portion of the island, near Kupang. And that's where they basically now reside, the majority of Helong people, but the language has traveled to the nearby island of Samau, where it's actually quite popular there. A large amount of people speak Helong there, and a more concentrated number than necessarily on the mainland, so that's interesting to note. Yeah, but like I said before, the number of active speakers is quite unknown, but somewhere probably in like the 14,000 ballpark. Many of the speakers, though, in terms of what kind of jobs or positions they have in the nation and society in East Timor, specifically in Kupang, they are they're farmers and fishermen. Yes, the Helong people are small group. It's an indigenous small group. So from what research I found, they pretty much live off the land. So they're farming, they're fishing, and they're making their money that way. I didn't see too much about them having any role in government or any kind of major impact on Timor as a whole. It seems as if they keep to themselves. Some primary factors as to why this language is endangered is just because, like I said before, it's a small group of ethnic people, like a small indigenous group, and I don't want to say it's dying out, but there's other languages that are more popular in the region that the helong people are learning just to be integrated more into society. So like Helong's major, like the largest threat to the language is the Malay dialect, which is spoken in Kupang. Kupang is the capital, actually, of Timor, and Helong used to be one of the primary languages of the region, but that's just completely died out with the Kupang Malay dialect, which is taking over. That's what most people speak, even if they aren't Helong, so the Helong people are learning it as well, and that's the language that's primarily being taught. So policies that were put in place, it was hard to find this. Actually, I came across a video in which they were talking about Helong in schools and in the education system, and it seemed fascinating from the description and the title, but I couldn't find subtitles for the video, and the video was in Helong, so I could not understand. But the vibe I was getting just from the description is that the schools amongst the Helong people are trying their best to teach it to the people that are attending the school, so the youth. I couldn't find much more information on that, but what I could find information on is there is a large documentation project which has been happening in which people are documenting the language just so there is like written form of everything that the people who are alive now know about the language in case those people were to pass on and they wanted to keep the heritage and the history of the language alive, which I found pretty interesting because I mean if the language is going to continue to lose large amounts of speakers, then unless it's really being passed down, then people aren't going to learn it. So it's nice that they're documenting the language, making sure like, okay, we know this is what this means, and they're writing out all the idioms and phrases and whatnot before the language just completely dies out and native speakers are no longer around. And that kind of goes into the question of the inevitable byproduct of socioeconomic development, or should we keep preserving diverse linguistic heritage? I personally believe that there should be an emphasis on preserving diverse linguistic heritage because I just believe that you need that diversity within a culture. Like, while it's great that everyone knows one language, and there might not necessarily need to be a common language, there could even be common languages. Language means so much to like a person's cultural background and their history. Like, it helps make up who a person is, and if ethnically a person is Helong, it should be great that they know their ethnic language and they're able to speak to their other people of their ethnic background in that language. Well, I don't necessarily mean they shouldn't know other languages. It's important just for them having their own sense of like belonging and sense of self if they know that there's a language that their people speak, if they could historically learn it. That's just my 2 cents. I was talking to a friend not too long ago, he's of Indian background, and speaking about how in India there's so many different languages and dialects, and how people might not necessarily understand each other if it wasn't for Hindi and whatnot. So while it's great that there's like a common language that ties everyone together, just preserving what intrinsically makes an ethnic group them, whether it be through documentation, whether it be like continuing to teach kids in school this language, it's important. So, thank you, and you guys have a great day.